Joining me on India First is Mohan Kumar Mangalam, national spokesperson of the Congress party. Rohan Gupta represents the BJP. Amitab Tari is a political analyst and a strategist and a commentator, and he's been working on ground very extensively in Bihar. Dr. Vikram Singh is a security affairs analyst and a former Director General of Police. Rohan Gupta, Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Bihar said, "We will not allow infiltrators to snatch away the rights of the people of Bihar." He then targeted the RJD and the Congress, accusing them of supporting these infiltrators or ghuspetiyas. Your government wasn't... Okay. No, my question is, you've been in power for 11 years. What have you done to address it?
Absolutely, Gaurav. This is definitely joint responsibility of central government and state governments. And the state governments of border states like West Bengal. And before last few days, Amit Tari clearly told the kind of cooperation which is required from the state government to ensure that infiltrators, number one, they don't enter the border, and number two, they don't get the right of the citizens of the India. It is required a joint effort, and that's what Modi ji said. In Bihar, we have seen that whether it is RJD or Congress party, why they are opposing SIR? There was a transparent procedure where 65 lakh voters, they were clearly identified, either they have traveled outside the state or died or they were not found. Why Congress and RJD is betting for these people? Because they somewhere, this is the vote bank politics, this is the appeasement politics. They feel that if these kind of people are there and they have the citizens' right, it will benefit them politically. We have seen this, Gaurav, in Delhi, two of the Aam Aadmi Party MLAs, the responsible for giving proof of address to the Bangladeshis for getting Aadhaar card. So I think unless and until there is a complete political will by all the political parties, this kind of issue cannot be completely resolved. And that's why he has called for a larger fight against the infiltrators.
Sir, that's a serious charge that you're leveling on the Congress and the RJD and other opposition parties. Mohan Kumar Mangalam, respond that SIR is an exercise where either bogus voters or those who are not there or infiltrators are being checked, and that is why the opposition is opposing it according to the BJP, because they want the ghuspetiyas because of vote bank politics, appeasement politics.
So, Gaurav, there are a couple of assertions that my good friend Rohan made that I want to counter here, which is that by no means was the process transparent. If not, the Supreme Court wouldn't be involved and then force the Election Commission to actually release the list of 65 lakh people that they have actually removed. In the objections and claims area right now, in fact, the Supreme Court has impleaded political parties in the process and actually told them to go ahead with the BLAs to go and verify the 65 lakh people. You've seen a lot of independent people actually go and find some of the people who've been classified dead on that on that list of 65 lakh as actually still being alive and in their residence. See, the Election Commission's job is not to determine citizenship. Let's not confound this.
If I may just briefly, 30 seconds, sir. Independent people have done so. The court also wanted to know why haven't political parties done so. How would you respond to that, sir?
I'm saying now that the 65 lakh people list is out and is made public and has been released on the court's asking, because the Election Commission was not doing so, the political parties will very much go to the ground and ensure that those who have been deleted and weren't supposed to are included back in the list. The follow-up question you might ask, Gaurav, is that what I was saying is that Aadhaar is again not a test of citizenship. It is very well established that Aadhaar is basically one of residentship, which you obtain by staying for 182 days or more in the last 12 months in this country. Right? So now you might ask, why is the Supreme Court including Aadhaar in the list now, when the people who are going back and trying to get included in this list, they were taken out of in Bihar, are trying to get back in? How is Aadhaar a valid document? The problem here is that the Election Commission does not get to determine citizenship. It is the foreign tribunals and the Home Ministry that has the only power to determine citizenship here. And it is a practice that is being followed for years and years. To talk about infiltration also in a flippant manner, I think, is very disingenuous of the Prime Minister. I should applaud him that he's at least come out and accepted fault of his own government, that they've not been able to control infiltration. It's a very, very important topic. It shouldn't be talked about flippantly. One of the tools that has been used to do so is fencing along the border. Let's be honest, the biggest problem here is Bangladesh and immigration from Bangladesh. If you look at the progress that Congress made there, up 4,096 square kilometers of that border, 2,700 was fenced off by the Congress up to 2014. Where is BJP got us in 11 years? 3,200. So 500 kilometers of border has been fenced by the BJP in 11 years. And here the Prime Minister's standing on a stage and talking about us actually wanting illegal immigration to
So
happen.
that's a serious charge. That's a serious charge. One, it's flippant in the manner in which they're doing it. Two, they haven't done it. Before I bring in Amitab Tari and Dr. Vikram Singh, Rohan Gupta, you want to quickly respond to very serious charges that the opposition is now leveling on the government. All talk, no action.
See, Gaurav, what is the core issue? Whether who will decide the citizenship or we ensure that Bangladeshis or infiltrators, they don't get the citizenship. See, this is the core issue. Rather than going into nuances of who will decide citizenship, it is important that infiltrators don't get the right of Indian citizens. And that is what SIR ensured. And again, Gaurav, just to second your point, this 65 lakh people list has been given to all the opposition parties. In last 20 days, they are not able to go back to election commission and file a single complaint with inclusion of these people. What they are talking about. So that's what I'm saying. This is purely vote bank politics, and that's why they have created this SIR issue, the bubble of which is got already burst in Bihar. At the end of the day, whether it is central government or state government, it should be joint responsibility that for the vote bank politics or appeasement, you don't allow these infiltrators to get inside India. That is point
This
number
has
one.
to be a
And don't
national
allow these
effort,
infiltrators to
undoubtedly.
get the Aadhaar cards to get the rights of the citizenship.
It has to be a national effort to ensure that illegals
Absolutely.
don't have access to India's finite resources that are meant for Indians. But Amitabh Tari, is there merit in the Prime Minister raising the issue of changing demographic profile, especially in the border belt, but even beyond, even in depth areas, and the threat to jobs of Indians, land of Indians, and life? Now, is that impacting states like Bengal, but also Bihar?
No, so clearly the Prime Minister raised this infiltration issue and talked about this demographic mission in his Red Fort address on the Independence Day. So it clearly means that this is one of the important aspects on which the government is working. Now, there are three steps involved in this process. One is how do we control infiltration, seal the borders, as the other panelists were speaking about. How do we identify these illegal immigrants? NRC is one option, or any other option perhaps. And what do we do after identification of these people, deportation, refugee camps, etc. So clearly we will have to wait and see how does the government come up with specific policies with regards to this demographic mission. Now, not only in India, even across the world, whether it is US or Europe, illegal infiltration or immigration is becoming a top point of the world, because people are realizing that the illegal immigrants are utilizing the resources of the country, which should otherwise have been used for the development of our countrymen. With the documents like Aadhaar, correct, where there has been now, we've seen a very high saturation level, whether in Assam, and you have also shown in your shows in Bihar in certain districts. What happens
more than 100% in almost 36 of 38 districts.
Yeah, these people are then able to create or get other documents and are able now to have a claim on jobs, etc. So this is a big issue, and we need to solve it. Of course, politicization will happen on this issue because it is also linked to vote bank, and we have to wait and see how the Election Commission of India, whose actual goal was to identify illegal immigrants in this process of SIR. I think it is a bigger issue, will be a bigger issue in Assam and Bengal rather than Bihar, because Bihar is still not a border state and still it's far away.
Absolutely. But, beyond borders, this is now creeping in. Dr. Vikram Singh, as someone who's dealt with the issue of Ghuspetiyas at multiple levels, as a former Director General of Police, do you see it as a threat to India's security, or do you look at it as a bogey that's raised before elections to polarize?
Good evening, Gauravji and gentlemen. It will be an understatement if I were to say that this is a bogey. Every infiltrator who has not been identified is a ticking time bomb. I would say a ticking time bomb. And this is the ground reality, not only in India, but the world over. Now, see, going to the fact, the grassroots level, Infiltration did not happen yesterday. It began
Yes.
in the year early 1971, before the Bangladesh war. And then it has never ended. Not to say that leveling allegations that the center did not do this and state did not do this. Well, no border sealing or border fencing is fail-proof or foolproof 100%. It is the coordinated action of both the center and the state, which will see that the infiltration is contained. It cannot be eradicated. But yes, you can do your very best. Even America has not been able to do fail-proof and foolproof checking of infiltration. But what we could have done, but yes, there are those within the state governments who say in their own words, "Ye hamari amanat hai." You may recall that in West Bengal, there was a call when there was trouble in Bangladesh that if there's problem there, I'm going to welcome you. What bigger evidence would you require when the people sitting at home in India are welcoming infiltrators with open arms? My recommendation to the commission would be, Gauravji, that first deny them all voting rights, property rights, citizenship rights, and they should not have any access to government subsidies unless you take these firm decisions. They will eat up, and you will go to Nainital, you go to the Tarai area where there was not a single infiltrator. You find swarms and swarms of them, in numbering in lakhs, who have taken over the pristine land.
And the demographic profile that's changing is that, as you rightly point out, is that a ticking bomb? And are we burying our head in sand? Mohan Kumar Mangalam, it's not a current problem. Let me refer you to a report by late Lieutenant General S.K. Sinha, then Governor of Assam. And this was, I think, in November 1998. Late General Sinha wrote to the center that illegal immigration poses a grave threat both to the identity, and he was speaking about the people of Assam, and to our national security. Now, beyond that, so the BJP was in power till 2004. The Congress or the UPA were in power from 2004 to 14. Nothing done. I'll come to Rohan Gupta to talk about what's happened from 14 to 25, but on that period, sir.
It was during UPA's term, actually, that the National Population Register was brought about. And the Assam issue has been one that has been burning for quite a number of years. So it is with the context of Assam, in fact, that the changing of the demographic, and I will take it to mean the changing of the ethnic background of people there, has been an issue that has led to mass protests, that has led to enormous student protests, and the Assamese have felt that the identity itself is shrinking. So it is after a lot of trepidation, the Assam Accords were signed. The Supreme Court upheld Article 6A of those accords as well. And there have been detainees in Assam in detention camps as a result of identification. So I think up to 2005, IMD was used, and after that, foreign tribunals were used again. Gaurav said, Rohan said that, it doesn't matter how we actually do it, but, in a constitutional democracy, there are laws. And following the right law and process to whether to disenfranchise or enfranchise an individual as a citizen of India is the most important part. We have been using a particular process to do that via foreign tribunals. Maybe if I were to take one of your fellow panelists' clarion call or warning more seriously, maybe we need to speed up that process, expand that process. But we can't outsource that process to entities that aren't equipped to deal with it, like the Election Commission.
Okay, but you spoke of the National Population Register. When you talk about protests that happen either with the Citizenship Amendment Act or read with, as some said, I'm just taking it forward for the simple reason.
I'm just saying that I'm talking about the protest, not about CAA, but prior to
that. Sure. No, and when you come to the NRC, even before systems are put in place, you start seeing protests. Now, decisions have to be taken by courts of law and not by the street. But who's mobilizing the street in this country and why? Rohan Gupta.
Nobody was mobilizing the street. I know what you're hinting at.
The street was mobilized. I will yield to Dr. Vikram Singh's superior knowledge on that.
Let me take 1 second there to rebut you and say that NRC would not have been a problem without CAA. The whole CAA, NRC, NPR trio is what was the problem was, which is why the Prime Minister himself said we have no intention to bring NRC, and actually contradicted
let courts of law decide. Let courts of law decide the street. But anyway, I will let Dr. Vikram Singh and to talk about the legal aspect. Rohan Gupta wants to come in because Rohan Gupta, I have a serious question because the BJP adopted a formal resolution, and why I want to take you back in history, because as a student of history, I want our country to know that the BJP adopts a resolution in 1996 in its executive committee meeting in Bhopal that there should be detention, detection, deletion, deportation. So detection of illegal immigrants should happen, deletion of their names from voter list should happen, their deportation to Bangladesh should happen. But then when BJP is in power, what happens, sir? You've been in power for 17 years, the Vajpayee era, and then Atal Bihari Vajpayee between 1998 and 2004, and then Narendra Modi from 2014 to 25 and counting. Why haven't you followed up on these 3Ds that you talked about in 1996, sir?
See, Gaurav, partially you have answered the question. When you talk about NRC, right? That is the process, because unless and until there is a national register, you cannot have a long-term solution. But you have seen opposition parties, countering the NRC. There is no logic of opposition party countering the NRC except the appeasement politics. And that's why you have seen in Assam, the chief minister clearly told that first time voters will not get Aadhaar because Aadhaar is a source of illegal citizenship in India somewhere. We respect Supreme Court here. I am not questioning Supreme Court. They have allowed this as a proof for the existing voters. But my point here is, unless and until there is a political consensus, when you question NRC as an opposition party, what intention you are talking to the people of the country? Because you are saying that, okay, your citizens will be taken up in the rally right now in Bihar. What Congress is telling? That BJP is taking your citizenship. And where they are telling? In the areas, their pockets where the vote bank politics is done. So why they are misguiding the people? Whom they are telling that citizenship will be taken? To the infiltrators? So this is the question of political intent, Gaurav, and that is where opposition
raised
parties,
a direct point about the Congress. I will get Mohan to respond to it. I want to quickly bring in Amitab Tari and Dr. Vikram Singh. But Mohan, you want to quickly respond to the point raised by Rohan?
Gaurav, I know you won't tolerate dog whistle politics on your show, so I'm
absolutely.
going to
That's exactly why you're
ignore
responding,
some of the things that Rohan is saying, and say that if the Congress and the RJD was so good at detecting infiltrators, then I'm sure the BJP, that has been such an expert at manipulating electoral risk, could also identify them and make sure that they're deleted. They certainly pride themselves on their ground game and their booth workers more than we do on ours, right? He said that on many shows before as well. So why is he so worried? And what does he mean by vote bank? I want him to spell it out, because he said that twice or thrice. Who is our vote bank, Rohan? Why don't you say it out loud?
I will tell you very clearly. I am not afraid. Out of the 65 lakh people, the list which is given to Congress party and opposition parties, you have argued, you have alleged that the your vote right has been taken. Now you tell me whom are you telling that your voter right is taken? 7 crore 25 lakhs eligible voters, they have got their voter right. 65 lakh voter list you have got. Out of 20 lakh people have already died. Around 32 lakh people have shifted. So whom are you talking that voter right is taken? Whose voter right is taken? So I think you have to answer the country.
So now that the opposition parties are included, BLOs are doing that job. BLOs are doing that job, but I want to bring in Amitab Tari on a point that you raised, Mr. Tari, that barring Jehanabad, almost all of the 38 districts in Bihar have about 100% plus, and they go up to 120%, 125%, 121%, for example, in Purnia, in Simanchal belt, the Aadhaar saturation. Do you see this as a Ghuspetiya issue that infiltrators are making inroads and getting Aadhaar, or do you see this as a data-related discrepancy, as has been pointed out by some analysts, sir?
See, I would say in Bihar, this could largely be a data-related discrepancy. Correct, because it's still far away from the border. Assam, West Bengal, we don't have the figures, so we'll have to wait and see. Here, but the BJP or the ECI will have to walk the talk. If they're talking about identification of illegal citizens as voters in this SIR exercise, we do not have that number yet. And as Vikram sir has mentioned, it's a ticking bomb. So we need that number, right? Because we need that number, because this SIR exercise will also be replicated in West Bengal and Assam, the border districts, wherein the issue could be much bigger.
Even more volatile,
The point is that this SIR exercise again has identified or deleted some 65 lakh voters. The names should have been published earlier, as the Supreme Court mentioned. It has been published now. But even today, the Supreme Court has taken all political parties to task that what are the BJP doing? Even after almost a week of these names getting published, there is not a single complaint or written statement from the BLAs of opposition parties, helping the Election Commission of India point out deficiencies rather than holding them in press conferences, etc. Because unless the opposition is able to prove that there are significant errors in this 65 lakh deletions, then the whole premise that the ECI is colluding with the BJP or the allegation and deleting names to help them win elections does not stand. So they will have to come out and point out
Okay.
significant errors, because this is
I
not
think,
a
Mohan, that point stands taken. I want to bring in Dr. Vikram Singh, because the government in the
Absolutely.
past, ministers have used words like termites, ghuspetiyas. You've said it's a ticking time bomb. And yet these elements manage to get Aadhaar card, voter ID card. They end up buying land or getting married to local girls and then acquiring land in some states. So, and exploiting India's finite resources. Sir, do we see more words ahead of elections than action on ground? What are the challenges and what's the solution in your appreciation?
Gaurav ji, is going to be more acrimonious by the day, and I'm extremely pained to say that we only seem to be indulging in rhetoric, allegations, and counter allegations. Little realizing that national security is non-negotiable. I wish there is action on the ground. To your question that there is so much of facilitation of these undesirable elements by special interest groups on the mafia to facilitate their identity papers, to facilitate them to learn the local language, to settle them down, and give them a vocation in business so that they're able to mix in the crowd and make a decent livelihood for themselves and become a committed vote bank, so that every district, sensitive district, has about 25,000-30,000 captive voters, so that translates into one assembly seat. And that is where the problem arises. If you're really serious about it, Gaurav ji, I wish you take the bull by the forehorn and address the issue and see to it that they are defranchised. And if we're not able to deport them, which will be very difficult, we can at least deny them the voting rights, the citizenship rights, as also the right to employment.
I will let that be the last word on this part of the show. To all my guests, many thanks for joining me.